Hello and welcome to this introductory video for the Game Patch Creator on building a simple single server incremental patch update for your game developments. My name's Danny J. I'm the lead developer here at Bitebox Media and I thought it'd be worthwhile giving you a quick rundown on how Game Patch Creator works at the basic level. Now, Game Patch Creator is quite an advanced software. You can do some real cool patching stuff with it. However, it can also be as basic as you need it to be as well. So I'm going to show you the basics on how to get up and running with a simple patch for your game development. Now, there are other video tutorials available on the website and on our YouTube channel, showing you how you can do stuff like multi-server patching, multi-version patching, all that kind of stuff. But for now, this is just an introductory video just to get you to grips with how the software works in essence, and then you're free to explore from there on once you know how the basics work. Now, my game, I've put in a folder on my C drive called inside a game folder. So these are the game builds, so not the source files. You can have them wherever you want, but I recommend when you come to doing your builds, your final builds, you should put them in a game folder or whatever, some kind of folder on your computer, where you can label like version 1, version 1.1, version 1.2, and so forth. So inside my version 1 folder here, I have 3 folders. I've got input, output, and ver. So inside input is where my actual game lies and all the game files. The output folder is where the output files, let me just delete that. This is where the output files will go once the patch has been built. And inside the ver folder is where the patch file list will go. So as you can see in here, this is my game. If I run my game, it's not actually a game, it's just a window with version 2.0 in, even though it's 1.0, so we'll skip over that. It's just a test game, just to give you an idea on how it works. I've got a data folder with some files in. I've got a lib folder with a text file in. I've got a music folder with a dummy MP3 audio file, and a video folder with a WMV video file inside. So let's hop over to Game Patch Creator and create our project. So I'm going to call this my test game, Danny J, the author, and then I'm going to use the default template, click Create Project. Now, there's a ton of settings in here, but I'm just going to show you how easy it can be to do a build, your first patch with Game Patch Creator. You really don't need to go through many of these options. These are just additional options that you can do to spice things up. So the first thing you need to do is go to Update Settings. Now, I'm going to update via the version numbers via a file called version.txt. So I can simply select File Update here and then type in version.txt. So that's telling the patcher now where to look on the hard drive for the, let me just put this mic into it. It's telling the patcher on the hard drive where to look for the local version number. So then we go over here to this panel, and we need to specify whereabouts on our web server the remote version number is, so basically the most up-to-date version number. Now if you look on my web server, it's kind of blank at the minute, there's nothing in there. This is over at Bitebox Media under a folder called gpc_test_release. So what I do is I specify in here where the version file will be. So it's biteboxmedia.co.uk, gpc_test_release, and it's going to be in a version text file on the server. So I can go ahead and create that file now if I want. So create new file, version.txt. As you can see, I'm using FileZilla here for the FTP upload. And then I can edit that file. Okay. And type in 1.0. because that's the current version that's going to be available. So I've specified where that is now. So that's that setup. So basically it's telling the patcher this is where you need to look for the current version number. This is where you need to look on the computer for the user to see what version they've got installed. And then we can head over to patch servers and the patch file list. So at the minute we've not uploaded the patch file list because it's not been generated by GPC. So we can just put in where it will be when we've finished. So it will be biteboxmedia.co.uk, GPC test release, and we're going to call it patch file. Then we move over to the salt. So the salt is an interesting one. And again, it doesn't exist yet, so let's tell it whereabouts it will be when it does exist. Oh, coffee's not kicked in. Salt. So this is our salt file. So we can go ahead and create our salt file, again, in the same directory. So create a new file, salt. Doesn't have to have an extension. None of these have to have extensions if you don't want. Okay, so a salt file, basically GPC, when it creates your patches, it generates a custom hash. Part of that custom hash is a unique set of characters that you can put for your project. So these can be anything. Just remember, do not use hash and don't use colon. So you can't use hash and you can't use colon. Don't use hash or colon. But apart from that, you can use anything else. Numbers, symbols, letters, capitals, whatever you want to do. Now, this must be between 5 and 32 characters long. It can't be any less and it can't be any more. It has to be between 5 and 32 letters long. So it can be anything, absolutely anything that you want it to be. And it's nothing special per se. It's just to make your patches unique. So you know that the file integrity will be in check, because your users won't know what your salt is, so they don't need to know. So we'll keep it at that. So yeah, once that's done, you upload that back to the server, so our salt file is in there now. Now, if you wanted to test your salt file, you can go to Build New Patch, click on Test Salt, and you can see straight away that it's got the information from the file on the server that we've just done. So that works fine. Back to patch servers. And then we just basically tell the patcher where our files will be online. So again, we've not uploaded them yet because we've not built the patch, but we can specify this now. Test release, and then we'll create another folder called game_files. So I can go ahead and do that right now. Game files. So our folder is now ready as well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much it. That's how fast it is to get up and running with Game Patch Creator. Now, obviously, all these are the settings you can go through. And there's documentation on the website and help sections everywhere that can, if you click on any of these, it will tell you what each panel does. But go to Build New Patch. We've already tested our salt, so we know that GPC can access our salt file. And then you simply click on Build All. Now, it's going to ask you for an input folder. So this is version 1.0. So we can simply go to our game folder and then click on the input folder. That's where all our game files are. The output folder is where the renamed files are going to go to once it's scanned over. So you would simply go to C game 1.0 output, and then the version folder, same again, game ver. And then once you've done that, you just, all these here, these ones that are grayed out, if any of these are blank, it won't let you build. So all you do is hover over and you'll see a little tooltip there telling you what it is. So just go back into your project and make sure you fill out whatever's missing from there. This bottom one here is the version number, so we can type in 1.0 and then click on Build Patch. And then the patch builder will run, it will build the patch up, and the job's done. Now, because this is our initial 1.0 install, there's not actually anything to patch. However, the user might have corrupt files or something like that, so it's always worth having your current version on your server no matter what. Now, when you've built a patch with GPC, it will come up with two folders. The first one is this with the debug login. The second one is where your patch executable data folder and your settings file is. So this debug log is just basically a patch log saying what happened in the build process for building your patch. It's very, very rare anything will go wrong with patch builds, but if it does, at least you've got access to the debug log where you can check out, you know, maybe what went wrong. It should tell you in there. So we can close that for now. And then here, this is our patch executable, our settings file, and our data folder with our splash screen and our images in for the patcher. Now, what I need to do is open up your FTP, go to the game folder, go to ver, and upload the patch file to here. Because remember, we specified in our project that the patch file list is at GPC test release patch file. Well, that's where it is now, GPC test release patch file. So the patcher will be able to access that. And then finally what we need to do is go into our game files folder, go to the output and upload these files here. Once you've uploaded these files, then your game files are now on your server, so the patcher can download any that it needs to. I'm going to give you a quick showdown in a second. So here on program files, Bybox Media, my game, this is just a test folder I've set up. So what I'm going to do while that's uploading is I'm going to copy these excuse me, over to here. So I'm just going to pretend that this is where the user will have my 1.0 installed. Let me just check that progress. Right, okay, so they've all uploaded successfully. Now, when you create your installer for your 1.0, don't forget to include a version text file. Now, one thing you must remember is don't create your version text file and scan over it with the patch, because then it will end up overwriting the version file when it comes to patch. Let the patcher create the version text file. So for your initial install, what you can do is, let's just open Notepad up, or Notepad++, and let's create a new text file that has 1.0 in. I'm going to save that to here, version.txt. So now we have a version text file with 1.0. So what you do with your 1.0 folder here is you create your installer with this, so that the version text file is shipped with it. And then don't forget also to include your patch, your GPC SGS file and your data folder in with the game installer as well, so that patcher gets installed with your game. So now if I run the patcher, it probably won't do anything because we're up to date, so it's probably going to show the splash screen and then it's probably going to exit just like that. And that's because we have 1.0 installed on the user's computer, and 1.0 is available on the server. Now, if you want to, what will happen at this stage for a basic check is every time you run the patcher, if you're going to run it from a launcher or whatever you're going to run it from, it will check that what the current version is installed on the user's computer against the current version available on the server, and then it will just exit. If it thinks that it's up to date, it will exit. So if you want to do a file integrity check, you can simply run the launcher with a command line. So the command line would be, let me just go to some kind of folder to create a shortcut. It won't let me create a shortcut in here. I'm just trying to show you. Create shortcut. So this shortcut here is for that patch there. So if you're running it from a launcher or whatever, at the end of the target line on the shortcut, or I would recommend creating a game launcher, you could just stick I1, and that will force the patcher to then check all the files to make sure that even though the version's up to date, you're telling the launcher to check all the files as well, just to make sure that none have gone corrupted. And if they have, it will download and patch or fix the user's installation. So all the documentation for the command lines are on the website at gamepatchcreator.com underneath the documentation section. But I'll just run that again just to show you that it's every time I run it with I1 command line, it's checking all the files in the user's installation just to make sure that they're all fine and whatnot. But if you just run the patch on its own, it will just check the versions, that's all. But there's loads of cool stuff that you can do like that, sending command lines to do file integrity checks. You can force installation of a specific version. There's all sorts of stuff you can do with Game Patch Creator, but that is your basic setup. So let me just show you now what's going to happen. So this is 1.0 that the user has installed here on the computer. So if we look in the changelog in 1.0, we have this. So what I'm going to do is show you now how you can patch to 1.1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my 1.1 folder here. So let's just pretend that we've done some changes. So inside here, again, we need 3 folders. We need input, we need output, and we need ver. So inside our input, I'm just going to copy these files. and let's make some changes. So for version 1.1 there were some changes, so let's just change the text in here. This is a test update for GPC. So we've changed the changelog text file. What else can we change? Let's add a file. So inside our lib folder, let's add a new file. What should we add? Let's add an open document text file. Let's call it test file. Let's just put some stuff inside it. This is a test file. Close that. Alright, so you can see that for 1.1 we've changed the changelog and we've added this new file here. So simply, it's very easy to patch now, because all you do is reopen up Game Patch Creator, you open up your project, you don't even need to change anything now, you just simply click on Build New Patch. Click on Build All, and now you need to specify the folders for 1.1 because that's the patch that we're building. So there's the input folder, and we specify the 1.1 output folder, and then the 1.1 ver folder, and then we simply tell the patcher this is 1.1. we tell it to build patch, click on yes, and it's opened up the debug. We don't need that, and we don't need that anymore either, so we don't need to do anything. The only thing we need to do now is upload your new 1.1 game files to your patch file URL where your game files are. So to do this, what I would recommend is when you upload them all like this, FileZilla or your FTP is going to say, well, these files already exist, so what do you want to do? Just select overwrite if different size or source is newer. That's all you need to do. So basically you're only uploading the files that have been changed then. If any files haven't been changed, then it's absolutely fine. Once you've done that, you just need to update your version number on your server in the version text file. So we're now using 1.1. Yes. And then what we can do, when the user now runs the patcher, it will detect that 1.0 is installed, but 1.1 is available on the server. It'll see which files are new or which files have been changed. It'll download and patch them, and then your patching's complete. So we should see that in action now. And there we go. You can see that it's checking the files, it's downloaded files, and then it should have updated this number in here. There we go. So now the user now has 1.1 installed. Let's just check the lib. Yeah, okay, that didn't work. I'm kind of glad that didn't work, because we want to see why it didn't work. So the way you can see how it didn't work is we can use that shortcut again that we had earlier on, wherever it's gone. Which was in GPC builds, if I remember rightly. My test game. There we go, the shortcut. So you can always check by putting Y1 at the end of the shortcut or the command line, and it'll generate a debug log. So we'll test it again. Now, do you know why it didn't work? Because we didn't upload the new patch file. That's why I'm glad. That's why I'm glad you saw that error. So that's why it didn't work, because when we build our patch, you must remember you need to upload the new patch file. That tells the patcher the difference between the files, between the updates. So as you can see, that was my fault. I'm just going to put that back to version 1.0 and pretend that didn't happen. Okay. So now when I run the patch, it'll see what's different, and it'll download the files. There we go. Now we have 1.1 installed, now the changelog has the changes at the end, and our lib folder now has our new file. So a bit of a mistake from me, considering I developed the whole software, but it just goes to show, if you do forget something, how it can impact your work with patching. So you must remember these things in order. Let me just run through it again, just so you're aware. I'm just going to open up Notepad here just to get a visual on screen. So when you build a new patch, you need to open GPC. In fact, let's just put a step in before that. Prepare patch folder, game version number. And then you need 3 folders, so you need input folder, output folder, and ver folder. Then you need to open GPC. You click on build new patch, and then you need to select new folders, specify patch number, build patch, upload the files, and then you need to upload and overwrite patch file list, and then change remote version number. So that's literally it. They're the steps that you have to do for doing your patching. So I might as well show you again in this video. Let's do a 1.2 update, just so you know. Hopefully I won't make any mistakes this time. Alright, so let's go and get our files here from 1.1. So let's do a 1.2 update. 1.2 input folder. That's where your modified game files need to go. Output folder, which is blank, and then a ver folder. So now we need to put something inside here that's quite big, because I want you to see how it downloads the files as well. So video, let's create 2 new video files, but they're just copies to me and you. Intro copy 2, intro copy 3. So we now have 2 new files which equal 80 meg together for 1.2 inside there. Let's just change this changelog again, just so we know. This is now 1.3. Alright, let me just close all them down. Okay, so again, once you've prepared your patch folder, where are we? Here we are. So I put this is 1.3 in there, didn't I? It's 1.2. Told you the coffee's not kicked in yet. Right, so 1.2. So what we've done for 1.2 is we've just changed a bit of text in the changelog again, and inside the video we've now got 2 new video files. So it's total of 80 meg now in that folder. Each file is 26.9 meg. So all you would do simply is go to Game Patch Creator, and again just go straight to build new patch. So build all. So you specify in here that it's 1.2 and it's the input folder. The output folder is under 1.2 output, and the ver, this is where your patch file goes in there. And then we say 1.2, we click on build patch, click on yes. It builds the patch for 1.2. So as you can see here on the steps, we've built the patch for 1.2. Then we upload the modified files. So we go into game files, we go to the 1.2 output, upload them. And again, when we do our upload here, it's only uploading new or modified files. It's not re-uploading all the files that are the same, because it's just a waste of bandwidth and a waste of time, to be honest. So don't forget to check that when you're doing your upload only overwrite if the source is newer or the file size is different. That way you'll save yourself a bit of bandwidth and you'll save yourself a bit of time when you're doing your uploads as well. Now while this is uploading, I'm just going to quickly show you something. If you go to your app data folder, you can do that by going to start and typing in app data. There will be a folder in there called game patches right there. And what you can do inside here is look under your patch title, which is my test game, and there'll be a debug log. Now you can open this up in Notepad and it will tell you the full debug log that happened when it was patching. Now debug logs are not generated by default. You have to use the command line /y1. So if any of your users are running into problems, all you have to do is tell them to create a shortcut to the patcher with y1 at the end, a space and then y1, and it will generate a debug log that you can then check out for yourself. If you're running this from a game launcher, which I highly recommend you do, you can put y1 as a command line argument, so you can basically have different buttons. So you can say, have two buttons, patch or patch with debug log. And if the user selects the one with debug log, you just simply send the y1 command. Alright, so that's done now. So again, following our order, we've uploaded the modified files. Now we upload and overwrite the patch file list, which is here for 1.2. So it's under ver, there's our patch file. Upload and overwrite that. And then we simply change the remote version number on here, which is now 1.2. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this 1.2 patch with a debug log being generated, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly take a look at the rundown of what the debug log is showing us. So back to our users, I'm not going to run patch because I need the command line in to produce a debug log. So I'm going to run this version. You should see now that it'll start downloading those two video files which are new. So there's the intro copy 2.wmv and same for intro copy 3.wmv. Text only took 3 seconds to download, 30 meg. That's good for my connection because we're in the middle of the sticks here. And on our user's computer you can now see that we have 1.2 installed. We should have the changes in the changelog, there we go, and we should now have the 2 new video files. So before I go, that's how easy it is, by the way. So next time you have a build, you know what to do, you know what the steps are. You prepare your folder, in the input folder are the game files, the output folder and the ver folder. You open GPC up, you select build new patch, you select the new folders for that patch, you specify the patch number, and then you build the patch. Once the patch is built, you then upload only the modified files, and then you upload and overwrite the patch file list, and then you change the remote version number. So now quickly before I go, let's just take a look at this debug log for that patch we just did up to 1.2. So I'm not going to cover everything in here because it's pretty self-explanatory and there's documentation on this on the website. But you'll be able to see just a little bit down here, remote and local versions. So this is where everything kicks in. So you can see here, getting remote version from server file received 1.1. Is this the old debug log? This is not the up-to-date one, sorry, my bad. Here's the up-to-date one. Let's try that again. Hopefully my coffee will kick in at some point. So we just scan a little bit further down here, and there we go. So we have a remote version on the server was 1.2, and as you can see, the local version installed on the user's computer was 1.1. So you can see here it says performing a file integrity check of version 1.2. It knows there's an update available, so it will start scanning through all the files here. Seeing which files are different from 1.1 to 1.2. I'm just going to see if I can find where it says. There we go. So there's the new files that we added. So you can see it shows here intro copy 2 does not exist. It needs downloading, and you can see that it compiles the download here, and then it downloads the file. Then it rechecks the file just to make sure that it's downloaded and patched okay, and as you can see, everything is the same. So then it moves on to the next one, which was the second video, intro copy 3. You can see that it doesn't exist, so it downloads it, it patches the file, and then it just checks over the file one more time just to make sure that it's been patched correctly, and then it moves on. And then once it's finished, it will upload the local version number, it will update to 1.2 to say that 1.2 is now successfully installed. So that's basically how GPC works. I hope that wasn't too mind-boggling for you. I'm a little bit under the weather this week. A lot's gone on. It's really it's really been a trying week this week. but yeah, that's basically how your patching works with GPC. If you have any questions, please come to our Discord server. I'm there almost every day. We've got support staff on every day. We've got other users on every day. Your questions will never go amiss. Don't worry. We don't hide behind email addresses and all that kind of jazz. We will help out all our users to the best that we can. But yeah, GPC is very powerful software. You can see how fast we set up that simple patching, and there is a multitude of settings. There's a mountain of settings that you can go through to customize your patcher to look exactly how you want it to look. I hope that video was okay for you, and don't forget to check out the documentation on the website. There's some written tutorials that you can follow step by step. If you don't want to follow the videos, you can do the step-by-step tutorials on the documentation section of our website, which is gamepatchcreator.com. My name's Danny J, and I will see you in the next video.